Hello, my beautiful badges. Messy Coder back again with another live dev interview, this time with 2Cubes, the creator of GameKit Controller. It's a two-part video. The first part was back in 2020, where 2Cubes came on, twitch.tv/the Messy Coder, where he showed us how to sit down in a chair, how to use his parkour system, basically how to use the amazing GameKit Controller for Unity. And the second video was in 2021, where 2Cubes came on and we played about importing in our own characters into the GameKit Controller, and he showed us all of the amazing new features that he's added on since the last time he came on. These are huge updates between the two videos, so you've got to watch them both. So sit back, enjoy, and I'll see you all in a second. Everybody around the world sitting at home in front of your big monitors, laptops, Amazon mirrors, Google watches, Alexas, give a warm and messy welcome to 2Cubes, the creators of GameKit Controller. How you doing, buddy? Welcome back to the show.
Cool. How about you? You said you were feeling bad today?
Oh, I've eaten too much food. That's my problem. I ate. My wife risked going out to fill up our cupboards with groceries. So obviously, when you've done your grocery shop, you come home and you eat everything that you've purchased, so that your cupboards are empty again.
That is how it works. You buy stuff, eat it, and go again.
That is technically how it works. But you've missed there is a phase in between eating it and buying more stuff. It's pooping it out, which is why you need the toilet paper as well. So you need to make sure.
It depends on what you eat. That maybe happens right after, or maybe you go a few times again to the groceries.
You just made me cough out my tea. So you've done about 500 updates since last time you were on. Do you want to just give a quick overview of some of the things that you've changed in the second half of 2018? What's new on GameKit Controller?
A lot of stuff actually. That's what I say, that it looked like it has been 5 years because there's so much stuff. I can talk about the last recent update, that this was released about a week ago, and basically it's a big improvement over. One of the most important is the action system, which already allows finally to configure a custom action for the player based on animations. So you can basically set a place in the scene where the player is going to play a certain animation. For example, open a door, sit on a chair, pick an object, etc. And along with that, he can configure actions based on input. For example, the current role action, or say one of them, or basically anything that you need. Other example is working in a glyph. As an example of an action that allow is not just play an animation, but allow to use input to move left and right. We can see that later.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
And the system has been made in to be prepared for the action. For example, it's very probable that the swing system or the clean system is going to use that new action system to configure easily each element of the animation.
So what version would you? What is it now? 2 point something. The current version of GameKit Controller is 2 point. Let's go.
3 point.
3 point something.
2F, if I say correctly.
2F. All right, let's have a look. I go to. Yeah. So we've got here player controller, player camera. This is just the change logs.
Yes, I actually made a summary of that file in just a couple of pages to see better what is new. Let me see. For example, the controller itself has been very improved to be more smoother and responsive and make better transitions between animations. Also, the animator controller itself is now better structured than before. Also, in order to add new actions very easily. So basically, you configure the settings on the component action system, and in the base layer there is a section to add new actions. So in that place is where you put all the new animations and keep everything organized.
Does this mean all the tutorials that you previously had, all the guides, now are obsolete, and you have to do whole new tutorials and documentation and guides on how to use?
No, actually, just maybe a part of the inventory of the weapons. That workflow has changed a little, and actually, about a few days ago, I made a new video to show the new workflow to create new weapons, and it's ammo. I always say
Ammo?
it correctly. Yes. Ammo.
It sounds perfect, mate.
So that is maybe one of the bigger changes. The rest is mostly the same. And what I am finishing a middle of that to make some improvements, polish and minor fixes, and we continue to add new content to the doc.
So with the ammo, can you have different types of, like a shotgun where you'd put shotgun shells into the gun versus a rifle or a pistol which would have bullets going into a cartridge and loading the cartridge into a gun?
Well, yes, each weapon has its own ammo. So you can configure. Usually, you configure like that. You make a new weapon, and you make a new ammo for that weapon. Actually, I think yes, that is the video I said, where you basically see that I just add I made a copy of a weapon type that I want to add. For example, one for which its ammo basically dissolve what it touches. And what I do is basically create a copy, make a few aesthetical changes so it can be seen that it's a different weapon, and just with a couple of clicks, the weapon pickup and the ammo pickup are created and added to the inventory. So like that, basically, about 2 to 3 videos are now that action. Push a couple of buttons and that's it.
And we're going to share screen in a second with 2Cubes. Now, 2Cubes, can you remind everyone why you're called 2Cubes?
The reason for the name?
Yes.
There's nothing actually. No. I would like to have a cool story, but there's none. Yeah, I just thought what kind of name I can use, and I said that one.
I love that. That's why I love that story. It's wow, your name's so interesting. What does it mean? Nothing, is just I made up a name. It's like, okay then, good story. I like it.
Yeah, but probably half of the current studios of game development probably had the same story.
I think everyone's got the same story.
Yeah, just it's like a tattoo. Some people will say I made for this deep reason, but just put that in my and finish.
I had a question about people asking me earlier about if they've got a first-person shooter arms and animations for weapons, like from Maxim Bugwin mobs or 3D Masson's FPS weapons packs. Can you use that with JKC? Can you make when you go to first person mode, use arms and weapons different than this third person mode?
Yes, in the current system, the first person has some different elements. Basically, the weapon is the same, but the customization of positions for each place of the weapon in first person is different, including the separate arms. And in fact, soon I will start with the full body awareness in order to make the player able to see his body in first person. And along with that, I am going to add support for animation in first person as well, for the weapons and any other thing that you need to do. The idea, for example, is start with the developer or FPS low poly pack, and for example, work in an integration with that asset.
Oh yeah,
while working
that's a good asset, that is.
While working in those elements necessary for first person, the animations, the full body awareness, and all them. Mm-hmm.
Oh, brilliant. Got a question in chat. Is there a way to change the physics weapon to do less damage, especially when lifting enemies? So you've got a physics weapon in the pack.
Mm-hmm. You mean the gravity gun?
Yeah.
Maybe.
So can it do less damage when lifting the enemies up with the gravity gun?
Actually, the gravity gun doesn't apply damage like that to enemies. What it does is basically I took the idea from Half-Life 2. There's I don't know if you played that game.
Which one?
Half-Life 2.
Played Half-Life 1.
Well, in the second, there is a phase where your gravity gun basically can pick any enemy. So I took that idea and applied here. And the health component allows to, when a humanoid character enters in Ragdoll mode, the collision with the different parts of that Ragdoll can apply damage to that character if he keeps alive. So what you can do currently is pick it with the gravity gun and basically hit with the ground or other object to damage it.
Ah, cool. I get you. Are we?
That
Sorry,
can be disabled. The damage in Ragdoll mode can be disabled too.
Yeah. So are we? Were you able to share your screen and you show us some cool new toys?
Sure. Of course.
Just reading chat. Irish John says, awesome accent. People love your voice. Spanish accent. Where do you find your interviewees? Awesomeaccents.com. Yes, it is awesomeaccents.com. That's exactly where I found Santa.
Yeah, I think you work with game creator developer, which I think is from Barcelona.
Oh, is he from Barcelona?
I think I saw him saying that in some moment, but can't remember now.
And whereabouts are you based?
Me?
Yeah.
My city?
Yeah.
Albacete.
Gesundheit. What? Say that slowly.
Albacete.
Albacete.
Yes, exactly that.
Okay.
It's one of the more cities in Spain. It's country the word? Can't remember.
Is it like small or big?
No, it's not bad. It's almost like a country, yes.
Okay. A county in Spain, yeah.
Let's see, to share the screen.
Hopefully it won't explode when we try to do it. And then we had Malbers, who's from Cuba, who's currently living in Ecuador.
Yes.
And
Okay, I think that this is connected. Not sure if you.
Yeah, I can see my beautiful face. So if you want to load up your Unity.
Okay, let's open Unity. I should have done this before.
Nah, it's fine. We're professionals here, mate.
Yeah. Then I was seeing the summary that I said before, and for example, another system very useful is the ability system, which is like the action system, but instead of animation, what it allows to do is basically add any action to the player itself. In the meaning of, for example, this allows to make a type of spellcasting, basically combining basically it activates something that in this case will be a damage area and particles, and the action system itself to trigger the animation. So basically, it allows to do stuff like that. For example, for the grappling hook, it can be used as well, or to throw a grenade or throw objects, for example. So instead of being based on animations, what it can do is make the player to do any other type of action, and along with that, trigger animations. So if you want to combine one,
there we go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just you're doing Inception on your Discord, and it was making my head explode. Cool, that's better. That's better.
Okay, so
now I can see without going somewhat insane. I was like, why am I seeing Discord inside Discord? Oh no, okay, now I see. Brilliant. How does that look for everyone? Is the quality clear? Can we all see? I think we can all see.
I can see now the other screen. So
Brilliant.
I only see mine in Unity.
Oh, Mavka 18 says they're living in Ecuador. Awesome. Go knock on Malbaz's door. Say hello to them. Ludis is writing in a link to Albacete. Let's have a look. Oh wow, what a very pretty place. Alright, cool. Let's get back into this. Let's stop mucking about looking at Wikipedia. Let's play about.
Okay, so what do you want to see?
I'm excited. I want to see every single thing that you've done since you were on here last year. No. Show me something sexy.
Be careful with that. Your Twitch can be closer.
Terms of service, yes. I'll tell them, no, it's fine. It's 2 cubes. It's allowed. And they'll be like, yes, you're right, because it's fantastic. Somebody, who wrote it in chat earlier? Honestly, if somebody manages to make a game with all of GKC, man, you got to put some other letters in there. It would rival the best Deus Ex MK Go.
Yeah, it could be. Okay. Why this is not working?
You've got co-op multiplayer in.
No.
And you said a while ago that you were looking at one day putting in network multiplayer in.
Yes, that is planning for this year. I haven't been able to.
Would you use Mirror or Photon?
No, at least for now, the idea is to use Mirror. I have to check more info about it, but it seems very promising. And since Unity is not having his own solution for the multiplayer for now.
Oh mate, don't even go down that road. Just even if they say they are, just pretend you can't hear them. Pretend you've gone deaf, and you can't hear Unity talking to you. Right? Just ignore them.
At this point, I think that maybe they will think about get the mirror guy maybe.
I don't know. He offered before when it was like, when they were doing, when Unet was there. That's why he made Mirror, because basically he was getting no answers based on the issues that he was raising. He said, look, it would be so much better if you did X, Y, Z, and they basically were like, no. And he was like, okay, I'm just going to do my own branch, and then it's going to work better. And he did, and it does. So, I would say, stick with Mirror or a Fulton, and just ignore anything that Unity say that they're going to be doing. I say that in the most sweetest, nicest possible way.
Yeah, I think the Unity is taking a lot of stuff at the same time and not focusing in certain things, but it's okay. At some point, they will finish everything, or maybe not.
Oh, exactly. So you've got some chairs to sit in, and you've got some columns that say action on them.
Yes, is the action and the ability. For example, this one is the action system. For example, to sit on the chair. Today I have been improving in a lot of games when you activate this kind of action that, for example, the player is going to press a button. Normally, there are some games that you put the buttons really close to the position where the player is going to be, but others leave a space and the player will move to that position before do the action. And what I was doing today is add the navigation to the action system. So when I press, in this case, the radius of the trigger is pretty big, just to try this.
Oh yeah, no,
so I press the interaction button, and he first go to the chair, then rotates, and then hits it.
I mean, that's great. I did my own script to do that, and it was a massive pain in the bum, and I spent hours trying to position him perfectly on chairs so he wouldn't look like he's hovering his bum in front of the chair or to the side of the chair, and that he's rotated perfectly facing forward. Can you pause it and show us the action item and the code that is on that chair, and how easy it is to do it?
The chair itself is, I mean, this is just an example and it's not hard coded for this chair. Is a very general system which basically allows to make any action that you need. And for example, before that, let's make him to get up. Also, in this case, there is an option to, after finish the last action, he will walk toward a position. In this case, he's just in front of the chair, and you can actually see here. Let me stop this. You can see here the two positions to go.
Yes.
This is where he will go before sit, and this is where he will go after get up.
Okay, cool.
So
he's got he's got an entry point and an exit point where he's going to go to.
Yes. And in between that, he can make different animations between actually starting and finishing the whole action. And in this case, is sit and idle and get up. In this case, is 3 animations instead of just 1.
So is the action attached to the chair then?
In this case, yes. Actually, the chair is just anesthetic. What the system is in this case, this is one of the samples that I see before that is placed in the level instead of bait an action that can be made at any moment, like the roll, for example. So you can see here the trigger is very big because I was testing the navigation from any of the positions toward the sub position to sit. So that works much better.
Oh, we put it behind the chair. So the trigger's behind the chair as well. Did you try that?
Yes. In fact, I was going to try that.
Oh, nice.
So we can see that as well.
Is that going to work in first-person mode as well as third-person mode?
Not yet. For first person, is not. Basically, it's made to not be inactive in first person, but the idea is added as well. It wasn't added before because I was working as hard as possible and to have this ready for the April 6. Of course, not rushing anything, but trying to focus only in what could be finished before, instead of just working a few hours of a couple of days in the first person part. I decided to put it for another update so it can be worked as it deserves.
Oh, cool. So we're going to get it. It will come.
Yes, of course. For example, I took as an example the actions like in Doom, in the Fish remake, the Fish. How's the word? The Fish reboot of Doom.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In 2016.
I haven't played it, but I've seen the videos. Looks very pretty.
Yes, and I took the sample that sometimes when the player interacts with something in the level, he moves toward that position and rotates, and that is what I'm going to take as an example. Of course, there are more examples, but I will take that. So you can see here the Navmesh Baker, and in this case the chair itself is not set at an obstacle, and it should be. In order to avoid that if he is behind, he will right now walk toward that. So let's put a Navmesh obstacle.
So it works using the Navmesh, this system?
Yes, currently yes. The previous system, better say the current system in the story, use basically a direction calculation, which is good for close distances. But for example, if there are obstacles in the middle, it will have a hard time. That's why, for example, in this chair, as you can see, the trigger is pressed here in order to avoid the player that he's going to sit from any behind position. And now I have added this other option to use navigation in order to allow as much liberty as possible. So the player already had before some updates ago his own Navmesh system, which basically use the navigation of Unity, and I am going to use that for this case.
So what those? If you go back to your action, you had use minimum distance and some other flags that you had in there.
In what part?
There you go. Use min distance.
Yes, this is the. This means that even if you are in the trigger, the player needs to be this close as minimum to being able to interact with it. This is made in different games to avoid that the player activates an action from really far.
And how do we make our own custom actions? So
can you repeat?
When you've got add action. If you click add action, that button there.
Here. Yeah. Yes. This is what I said before about the chair having three animations. In this case, is sit, then idle, and then get up. So these animations, basically, they are the same. I mean, the setting is the same for the three, in the meaning that it's the same. It's not made in purpose for the chair, but the system is in general.
So it's just nested actions inside actions.
Yes. Basically, for example, you have here a name, and in this case, what you do to trigger the action is for this case use the name of the animation configured here. Let's see. So we have here the device layer, and we have here I have separated the magic animation basically to have a better organization. But we have here the new actions, and you can see some of the examples configured.
Walk off cliff.
Yes, it's actually here. We can see that in a moment.
Oh, cool.
This is what I say.
You got a drunk action as well.
Yes, you didn't see that yet. It's pretty funny. And it had a shutter camera effect, which is very nice.
Oh, cool.
I can say that you maybe already guessed it, but there is a beer consumable pickup.
Oh, nice. Is it a cerveza?
Yes, cerveza. Cerveza.
Cool. Right, cool. Click play. I want to see him do crazy things.
Actually, let me check one moment. There is no beer here, so.
Oh, you gotta put some beer down.
We have no fun, so let's put some fun here.
Brilliant.
You can just drink one. You need more.
What's the limit you've got on the co-op mode?
Do you mean in the number of players?
Yeah.
Actually there is different screen modes. The regular one is the split screen. So usually you have about 4, between 2 and 4, because more players will be very difficult to see in a regular screen, unless you have a very big screen. But there is no actually limit there. You can put as many players as Unity itself allows, which basically is, I'm not sure if the input itself can manage 16, if I remember correctly. Basically it's here. You can see the input. Yeah. This is the only input needed for the asset, because the rest is managed in the custom input system. So basically it's here. You can see how right now there are three players configured. So you can see here horizontal, vertical, and the rest. And each one has 1, 2, 3. So you will need to add each one of this input for extra players. And I think it's about 16 input at the same time, gamepads, but can be sure right now, really.
I think that's more than
probably that, yeah, 16 players is good. And on with the split screen, I worked, it's not ready yet, but I worked in a system similar to have a camera like Smash Bros, which basically is have one single camera and keep all the players inside.
Oh, thank you so much for the follow. So this is, this comes from me spamming 2Cubes with a video that I found where someone had basically made a GitHub of how to do the Lego camera. And I loved it. And he was like, yeah, that's cool. So after months of me harassing,
I was about to put a restriction order.
But aren't you glad? Because it is lovely. It makes a massive difference.
I really like the result, and
yeah,
I want to have it ready fully for the next main update, which is 3.03.
3.03. When is that going to come out? Next week.
It's already in the store. No, that main update will take about 1-2 months, approximately. Always add about 2-3 more weeks, depending to the speed of the development. But yeah. I always try to work as fast as possible.
And then you've got the delays of Unity putting it approving. How long does that normally take for you? Does it take a long time for Unity to
No,
approve the updates?
in my case, just about a couple of days. What
wow.
used to take a lot of time is for new assets. I think that maybe takes about a month or maybe more, but can be sure. I can't remember how much time took for this asset when the first time I sent it to the story about in 2015, about 5 years ago.
You can't remember how long it took.
No, I can't remember.
Dude, if you, it's okay not to remember something from 5 years ago. It's fine, dude. So we're just showing the video of one camera with two people. So the further away you get from the player, the more the camera zooms out so that both fit on the screen.
Yes, maybe it has another name, but I call it the Smash Bros camera.
The Smash Bros camera. See, I've never played it, but I take your word for it. Okay, so this is top down.
Let's see. One moment. Oops.
I was enjoying the demonstration of the action, but you keep changing the subject before you can show anything. Yes, it's called getting your anticipation ready. It's getting the anticipation. It's building up a massive anticipation, and then there's an explosion when the climax comes, and then there's the climb down afterwards where you're all exhausted and spent. So you need to keep the anticipation as much as possible. Isn't that right? So let's go back into you sharing your Unity so that nobody stabs me. So what are you doing at the moment? You're playing about with the Navmesh obstacles so that we can not have an issue.
Since I was working in this maybe about a couple of hours before start the stream, I wasn't able to fully test it. But give me a second.
I'm sure it would work. It's a
if I can remember.
Message. Yeah, saying that the reason why we're delaying is to stop people drinking. Yes, exactly. No more drinking. Stop drinking. What's the most number of actions you've had nested on an object? Because on this one you've got 3. There's 3 actions for the chair.
I think maybe the complex, not too much complex, but in that meaning, maybe the walk on cliff, because it has a couple more of states. But actually, it's not nested actions itself, but different ones. Basically, what it does is enter on this state, and basically make transition from one state to another according to the input. So, for example, he walks to the left or to the right, making the rotation towards a direction or another, and also a needle. So basically, just a few states. But for example, for the swim, it's planned to use this system as well.
Oh, cool. Is the swim in 3.03 or is the swim in later?
No, it should be in 3.03.
Oh, awesome. So 3.03 is going to be a huge update.
Yes, it's going to be an important one. Why I can't this to work as I want? It has been a lot of time since I use navigation obstacles. And I can't remember how to do this smaller. Let me see. No. Okay, so this is the smaller than I can get. Okay. Let's try that.
Let's try that.
Okay, let's expand this a little more. And let's try. And according to the results, it will be 1 beer or more beer.
And you're using Unity 2017.1.0 F3.
Yes, is one of the best version that I have found in the terms on stable and bug free. And I think that it's not a bad version to have more compatibility with a wider number of versions.
Yeah.
Since I have tried several versions of 18, 19, and the new 2020, and they work without problem.
Also, it does work with 2018, 2019, and even 2020.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the asset doesn't use anything special, or any system inserted from one version, so there's no problem to use any of them.
Is that okay, why you're not going to use like the dots and all that stuff and the burst and maths packages?
For now, no, because I think that it's not fully ready yet. As it seems that people is still having some troubles, or maybe there is not enough documentation on how to do specific things. So I think it's better to wait for dots and the other system I can remember, jobs.
Yeah.
Dots, not sure is the same thing, but all the stuff. I am waiting also to Kinematica to see if they hire that ready at some point.
I'll see you use it in 2030 then, mate.
Okay, so he went
cool.
above the chair, so he avoided properly.
Nice.
We can see that again. And let's see.
Yes, do it. I was going to say, let's do it split screen.
As the stacker is littered, let's see from here.
So you're going towards it. That's good. Push
beep,
E.
beep, 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 beep.
Oh, we managed to break it. He's got 1 foot stuck inside it.
Let's see, one moment. Not sure where the obstacle is. No, where did I put it up? Okay,
he's done it. He decided to.
Yes, there is a countdown, just in case. Where the hell I put this? Okay, let's stop it 1 second.
A good mechanic would be to sit to stop being drunk. Yes, that is a good mechanic. To sit down and there's a cooldown. If you sit down in the chair for 5 seconds, and you stay still, then you don't. Then your drunk state disables.
I put it here. Let's call it this obstacle. Okay, so I think this because it's too bigger.
It is too big, isn't it? There you go. Okay.
Because I'm not able to reduce it a little more. Let's see. Oops. Why it's so big? That's what she said.
Same question every time.
Okay, let's see. Maybe this. And let's see again. This is what I say that I have been a long time without trying the obstacles, but you can be sure it will work properly. Just a matter of tweak it the best possible. Okay, let's see. Let's take it some beer.
Oh, drinking the beer.
For example,
why not change the Navmesh obstacle size? You did change the size. Oh, yeah, if you change the size of the Navmesh obstacle.
Yes, it's because I haven't used the
0.0.
navigation in a long time.
It's not making any difference, is it?
And I can't remember exactly how this worked, because I can't make it smaller for some reason. Anyway, we can try that later. For example, in the beer is basically an inventory object. So consumables, consumable can be stored in in the inventory now, and along with ammo. That I think that when we made the last interview, no, the ammo it wasn't stored in the inventory, but I can remember.
Yeah, wasn't, I think.
Well, basically, you can now store it anything in the inventory as you need, including objects to recover health. Anything attachment for the weapons can be stored here as well.
And you've got weight, so if you've got too many heavy things, what happens? Can you make it that it makes you move really slow, over encumbered, like you can't run anymore?
Yes, basically, it has an event option, so you can basically customize anything in there. The player moving slower, not able to pick any more objects.
Nice.
Basically, anything you prefer. Not even maybe not able to use weapons. For example, just to put an example. For example, another thing that I put is just an option for a specific pickups to not be examined before taking. For example, the beer has that option active. For example, here. Okay, here. Ignore examine object before pick it. So if I uncheck that, it will activate this window.
Yeah, I love that. It's like Skyrim kind of thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. So you can have very specific items to be examined before picked, or everything or nothing. As you prefer that.
And you can still examine it, even if that you've got that tick box ticked. You can still kind of click.
Yes, in any moment in the inventory you prefer.
Can you examine it while it's in the scene as well? It's like put a button over it, so like you push E to pick up and R to examine or something like that. Will that work still?
Do you mean to examine anything?
Yeah, exactly. So instead you go up to the chair and do examine.
Yes, you can actually put the examine system in an object. For example, let's see here. I have a few. For example, there is a radio here, and I think not sure if there are any sounds configured. Let's see. Oops. I activated the. Yes, I was inside the trigger.
Did you, when you had it examined and you moved and you released, it changed the position of it? So when you were examining it, were you actually carrying it then?
No, the object is placed inside the camera. So in that meaning, yes.
Because you had it examined, you started walking, and then you stopped examining, and then the position of that radio was now somewhere else. So does that mean that when you're examining something, you have to lock the character so he doesn't move? So you can only examine if you're static. Otherwise, the object will actually change its position because it's anchored to the camera.
Yeah, probably a check could be added in order to avoid that. Let's see. Let's put this about here. That maybe will work. And let's try again. But in any case, this is a new feature, so it's usual that some tweak is necessary.
That's what we're here for. We're live QA.
And so, actually, let's take the bit before. Okay, so if we use it.
Whee!
Also, the player activates a different tree animation. So he moves very awkward. And actually the screen is reversed.
Oh yeah.
And has that effect. And the effect is configured to only last a few seconds.
So can you change how long you want it to last as well?
Yes. Basically, what the beer currently does is recover health and activate that state.
Brilliant.
So basically, you can configure any consumable and set that affect to any stat of the player, like health, like the energy, even get experience points with an object if you want.
So
That I think that yes.
I was going to say what I would have done if I was to make this, to use this for some kind of RPG or something. I'd have another hidden value like intoxication. So every time you drink a beer, your intoxication goes up, and when it gets to like maximum, then you're drunk. So the player doesn't realize how drunk they're getting, and the more they drink, the more severe the drunker they get. So like you have to drink 3 beers before that effect happens. And if you drink 2 beers and then you eat some mashed potato, then your intoxication goes down. And or drink a lot of coffee. So you can go, I've drunk 3 beers. I've had 1 coffee. Okay, now I can drink 2 more beers.
Yes, you will need maybe make some script for the part of what happens if certain levels of intoxication happens. Maybe basically the logic that you will follow in that part. But the part to manage the stats are already in the set.
Oh, brilliant!
And they are here, so you have basically here the stats of the player that you can add any type of float and bull value. For example, the current health is here, and this is also used to serialize all this info. So if you have the player with the half of his life, of his health, and you save the game and exit, when you come back, the health will remain in that amount.
Oh, brilliant! So what you're using for that is that like a scriptable object or
no, for this
scripts or player prefs?
For this part is binary format. That is the current way to store info in files. But I would like to change to JSON. Not sure that is the name in English.
JSON. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to change the binary format to that part to make everything more better to use. For example, you can see here other stats. For example, you have also the maximum health of the player as a value, which can be upgraded through the experience system. There is a experience system as well, where you can define each one of the levels that the player can achieve and the amount of experience that you need for each one. For example, you will start in the first level with these values, and if the player reaches the second level with 400 experience points, for example, you get all these improvements in the stats. For example, the match health is increased in this amount, and same for others.
That's awesome. So this asset is basically what Peter Molyneux would do if he actually followed his promises.
Which was the Fable 4?
I think every single promise Peter Molyneux's ever made.
Unless you has how was the game Curiosity, the box, the giant bots that you had to pick to reach the center.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
What?
Is it good?
No. Searching for after when you are able of that because it's laughable.
Okay, I'll avoid it. Does the first person mode use the same features and components?
Yes, there's no difference in that regard. The only difference is just the view, the camera view, and nothing more. Okay. For example, I can do that now. If I change to first person, nothing changes. Basically, the action system, which is the current that is not added yet, but for example, you have here the weapons. For example, you can basically everything is adapted to everything, including the locked views for top-down fixed camera, like in all Resident Evils. Everything is adapted to all the views and player modes. Okay, so I think we're going to check one moment the beer, for example, which basically is this is the pickup object, and you can see here the stat that affects. So you can see here that the stat is the health, the current health. If we affected by adding this amount, and also in the player is going to trigger this state, the drunk state itself. So you could basically put here as many stats to affect as you need. For example, if you want to see this money, for example, you could have an inventory object that when you use it, basically it gives you money. The money, the currency system, is managed through the stats. Or there could be persuasion, for example. I added that for the current USDT, which is for the dialogue system. The dialogue system now allows to configure if certain hardware will be usable when you talk to an NPC. We can check that as well.
That'd be awesome. So Goku's asking, why are there two health stats?
Do you mean here, current health and max health?
Is that what you mean, Sengoku? I don't know. Let's see what he replies back with.
I guess he means that. It's what I said before. One is the actual health value in the player. Is the current health.
Because you've got one in experience level and one in the player controller.
Oh, do you mean this health? This one?
There you go. So, player controller, you've got a health script.
Yes, that component is the real health. The one here is just an stat, which is used to serialize the values of the player that you need, and to be able to have a main component that access to those values. Not sure if I am explaining properly.
Yeah, so when you do stuff,
basically
the other script is the one that gets affected, and when it's saved into this current health object in here.
See, yes, basically this health component doesn't have any serialization.
Yeah.
It's the logic of how the health and damage detection works, and the stat system is the one that allows to configure any value that the player use, for example the health, and is stored there. So when you come back to the game, this value will be the same as before. So this value here is initialized in the health component.
Makes sense.
Not sure. Not sure.
No, but it's basically your experience. This stats here is your database where you're storing everything.
To save info. Yes. Yeah. For example, let's say that you in some part of the game, or you're making an script and you want to access to a stat. Let's say that you want to see the health of the player. You will need to make a reference to this health component in the player, right?
Yeah, because that's the current active health that he's got.
Mm-hmm. And let's say that you want to check the health and the money. You will need another reference to the currency component, which is this one, where the logic of how the money is used is placed. So you will need two references to two different components. With the stats, you only need to access to this component and check the stat that you need. and beside that, it's allowed to save this info.
Cool. That makes much. Something that caught my attention on this character controller more than others are the mission and objective system options that I did not find in other assets such as puzzle system, etc. That's cool.
Yes, the mission system has been very improved. I took inspiration from Borderlands for example, to get mission from dialogues. NPCs that directly, instead of talk, they directly show you a panel where it puts here a mission, accept it or leave it. And mission boards as well. So you can go to those mission boards, get the mission that you prefer, and be back to get the reward.
So is that the general process? You go and you play a game and you go, oh, that looks cool, I like that feature, and then you work out how to code it and you put it in.
Yes, well, I for this case I wanted to make a general system, so I say that it's experience in Borderlands, but in the meaning of how the logic works. For example, most games will have a similar system related to missions. To have, for example, in a kind of sandbox, or maybe more linear, but you can get out missions. In this case, it's not necessary that there are mission boards or NPCs to get missions. They can be triggered activated by triggers, for example. Let's say that you have a linear game where you move from one location to another, so you can put triggers to get missions to make.
Sengoku's got a problem on it. I have two players, both have 150 health in the health script, but in game only player 2 has 150 and player 1 still has 100. What could be the problem? And he says, I know this is not a live support interview right now, but it's a good question. So if he's got two players in the game, and one of them is getting the correct saved value of 150 health, but the other player only has 100.
Yes, this is because the local multiplayer, not all the elements are totally adapted yet. For example, what basically is very necessary is to add a menu in game to select single player or multiplayer, and once that is done, the save system itself will also take care of multiple players to save the info, because currently there's no way to set the logic for when different games where you have multiple players don't follow the same logic to save the info. Not sure if.
So you'd have to specify that you want to be doing multiplayer mode rather than single player.
No, the system actually, well, yes and no. I mean, that part is not totally finished yet. The part of the single player works as it works properly, but basically the local multiplayer is not 100% totally finished, but is going to be complete in this 3.0 series of updates.
Ah, cool. So would you be able to start a game with single player, and then another player picks up a controller, presses start, and then joins in?
Yes, the idea is, for example, taking inspiration from games like Resident Evil Revelation 2, or I think the first one, not sure the first one, but the second one has a campaign where one single player or two players can play, and if it's just one player, the other will be an AI, and if a second player enters, it allows to play the entire game with two players. For example, Dead Space 3 has a similar system, so that is the idea. If you can play you can make a game with a single player, a game with local multiplayer, and a game with two players when you can play as one player and one character controlled by the game, or actually 2 players to play the campaign. It will allow that, all that kind of mods.
Skoku's saying he's using the companion option. And he actually used it for the game jam, the Messi Cody game jam. So he made a game for the game jam using your kit. But he's using companion option for the second player.
There's a person making a game for the jam with the asset.
Yeah. Let me find you the link and I'll send it to you.
I didn't know that there was a person. I know about the game jam, but
well, of course
but
you do, because it's famous. It's a famous game jam. While I look for the link of Sengoku's, actually, Sengoku, why didn't you stick it in chat? Post a link to your own latest version into chat. When is the melee update boss with stages, non-humanoid creation mounts, horse, lion, dragon, etc.? So are you doing an add-on where you can have non-humanoid bosses for melee fighting?
No, not add-on, but it's basically a boss system is planned. Yes, that part is correct. Basically, it will be a system which allows to trigger different events according to usually the bosses of games are managed by the health system according to the remaining health, or maybe time, or maybe when the player reaches a certain position or does a certain task, another phase of the boss will be activated. And that is the idea. Oh, cool. Currently, there is an option in the health component which already allows kind of that thing according to the remaining health of the character. For example, if I remember properly, let me here drop it.
So like you be fighting the boss, he gets down to half health, and then he goes into berserk psycho mode, and then
yes,
like has laser beams come out of his bum or something.
Yes, currently that can be configured. Change that model, but this one. Okay, let's see. For example, what I did is configure an enemy which start with weapons, and let's see.
You've also got like you have friends, like you in the game you can set people as your friends, but when you accidentally shoot the NPC who's your friend, he gets angry and starts attacking you. How do you stop that?
Yes, that is configured in the faction manager.
So can you tell him to ignore friendly fire? Like you would still get hurt, but you forgive me for doing it, so you don't become angry.
Yes. So yes, you can see here in the faction system, which is where all the
friendly
factions...
fire turns into enemies. Just untick it.
Yes, and you can put this option separately in each character. So maybe one can forgive you, and another will attack you.
Cool.
So, for example, you have a faction, and you configure the relation between each faction. For example, the friends, soldiers, are friends of the player, and enemies of the faction configured as enemy soldiers. And go on. Is basically, instead of relying on tags or components to configure names or similar, you basically can configure the faction system and customize the relationships between each one.
Is there like a limit of how many NPCs you can have before it starts exploding with all of these scripts attached to them?
I haven't actually tried how many can manage, but for example, for the last update in the story, I already made some improvements in the performance of the characters, and more improvements in that regard is planned in order to have as many characters in the scene you can have as possible.
Are you gonna add a pooling system for NPCs at any point?
Not only for NPCs, but for any kind of object in the asset.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Is
For
that
projectiles,
version 4
steps,
or version 3?
I think the 3.0. It should be in the if everything goes well this year, a polling system is going to be included.
Oh, awesome. Is it difficult to make a puzzle like the piano puzzle in the mansion demo, so it can be clicked together, or do you need to code it? So was that piano puzzle made just using your system with no code, or did you have to write C# for it?
No, actually, there is the piano itself has a custom component, but it's a general puzzle system, which basically allows to press objects and trigger events with that. So basically, it detects which object you are pressing and trigger an event. And the piano system itself is just a small script where you configure it. I put the notes of the piano and which sounds is triggered by which note. But the puzzle is a general system. So the idea is I actually talked about this with another user. He asked about the rooms games. Not sure if you know that.
No.
It's for mobile. So in the last year they have been ported to other platforms. It's basically the typical games where you have to solve puzzles. I never say this well. Puzzles where you interact with the different objects. You move levers, you press buttons, rotate things, drop inventory objects. So the idea is have a puzzle system like that. Currently, you can, for example, there is a Jenga example where you use physics to grab and carry and drop objects. There is a spaceship toy where you basically put the pieces together in a certain position and rotation in order to trigger an event, which will be the puzzle solved itself. So the idea is that to make the system add more options and more kind of interactive.
Cool. There's someone in chat asking about melee, but do you have melee fighting? So like swords and shields and.
No, not yet, but it's the current element for the current. The current update 3.03 is going to have the melee combat system.
Oh, cool.
For player and any AR as well.
What about bows and arrows?
What?
Like a bow and arrow, firing a bow, like Legolas.
Yes, I want to include it as well. The idea is add any type of melee weapon.
Oh, man.
Swords, shields, mace, bow and arrow as well.
Brilliant. What about horses? Like, could we use Malba's Horse Anim Set Pro?
The integration is in the todo list. Yes, with exactly that asset.
Because at the moment you've got the ability to how did you describe it? Where you're the character, but you can then go up to another object and then you become that object.
Yes, I call it override or possession system. Taking the idea from Mario Odyssey. I can actually show you that.
Yes, show us that, please.
Let's see, what do you want to control? A box, a turret, and an explosive barrel.
I want to be the beer bottle. I want to walk around as a beer bottle.
I will need to configure that. I haven't actually, but basically it's the same controller that will be for this sphere. Basically, it's a rigid body controller, so you can put this.
What if you put the beer inside the game object of the customer that sphere, and then just turn off the mesh of the sphere.
Okay, let's try that. I haven't tried that, but let's see. But basically, it applies forces to the rigid body, so it will move like that. Let's see. I have the beer here.
Yeah, reset your position.
Set. I have to
Yeah,
disable this
disable your pickups and stuff.
because else it will maybe cause something. Okay, so I have. This is the. Where is the sphere? Is this one? Actually, I think this is not the best. I think. Where is? I think it's this one.
Wow, what is that? Custom mesh.
Okay, I didn't remember this. Basically, the mesh of the object is configuring the.
That's right. Go to
the object itself.
Go to the sphere one. And just disable the mesh renderer from the sphere.
Not sure if that will work as expected, but
try it.
But we can try.
Go to the root. That's it. Custom override object sphere.
Let me make.
There you go.
A little change.
Beautiful.
Remove and add this one.
It's got crazy.
And 1 second. Can't remember now if the collider control here.
Mr. Africa, you're welcome. Hopefully that question, the answer was what you're looking for. While you're doing that, what inspired you to make GameKit controller?
Well, this is story from the previous stream, but it's not a problem to say again. Basically, I made a informatics degree, and I had to make a final project for the last year, and I made a game where it was a mix of Gravity Rush, Infamous, and some puzzle game or puzzle mechanics. And that was my first try with Unity. I haven't used it before of that.
How old were you? Like 18? What was that? 19?
I was 25, I think.
Oh.
Now I never remember the name properly. 30?
Yeah.
No.
But you're still young.
I am 5 years older than 35.
You're 30. No, it's good. Your English is better than my English, so don't worry about it.
I am not used to talk too much. I'm very used to read it, write it, hear it, but
coding it.
Yes, also. I see strange to make any code or comment in Spanish. I don't do that. It's awful for my eyes. So yeah, when I finished that degree project, I took the controller itself, which allow us to basically control the gravity, and turn it into an asset. That same about 1 month later, and by that time it was publishing in the store. And after that, I started to improve it. And instead of just being a controller, I started to add more mechanics, improvements, and stuff. And until now, it becomes a whole engine. And my idea is to make it better and better, until it allows to make a game from beginning to end. Without
that's
need
your plan.
Your
plan is to get to a state where you can make your own game using GameKit controller.
Yes. So the better it becomes, the better for everyone.
Cool. Right. Hide that mesh renderer on the sphere.
To check this.
Yeah, you see, you got the tick box on mesh renderer. No, go back on the sphere. And just untick the mesh renderer tick box.
Yes.
There you go.
One second.
Like that magic disappeared.
I wanted to check something because I'm not sure of if this will work, but anyway.
Of course it will. We're just being crazy now.
Okay, let's see how that works. Not sure it will work. I can show you the regular override system.
The guy was asking to see your game from uni. Do you still have it? The original, the original grandfather of GameKit controller.
The degree project.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a couple of videos of that.
Cool.
Where is the?
Where do we put the?
I think that it fall. Yes, it fall. It falls, yes, because the collider is inside of the object.
That's what I suppose.
Maybe it's because it's too little. Maybe.
Maybe partially it was in the ground. Drag it up higher so it's not.
Let's see.
Where's the?
Maybe it's because the collider is too little. Let's see. Why not?
Why not? Raffle. Mel's League, hello. I didn't ask if he has any vouchers for us to give away in a raffle. So I haven't done any raffles today. We're just here playing about. We're having fun. I think you might have to put the box collider on the root object. Yeah. Yeah, you have to put box collider on the root.
Yes, it's the typical stuff of physics and Unity and colliders. Since I remove it from here. Okay, let's see. Copy, remove, and paste. Let's see.
Let's see if it's gonna work. Subdued Morlock. Hello, Morlock. Let's see. Let's see.
Actually,
this works. I'm very excited.
We haven't seen too much of the action system and the ability. Let's make that the next. Okay, so I am in powers. I am going to activate the power. Oops.
The power of love.
Okay. Exactly. Okay, so this is the position system. And
now you are a bottle of beer.
Yes, but I can move because let's see one moment.
You are
okay. It had physics, but it is not moving for some reason. But I can jump off it.
Jump into the box then, because you added the box in there as well. Or do you want to try again?
No, I can move it. Probably because of the change of the mesh.
What about if we go into that weird custom mesh that you put over there? So what's stopping us from just adding Malber's horse, and then when you use the power on the horse, it just activates the Malber's controller?
Basically, that I haven't any animal model yet. Basically, that is the only reason. My plan is to get that to add custom models for the asset, not the external, so I can work in the controller of those models. So yeah, that is the idea. For example, to include a wolf, for example, is something that I want because of Twilight Princess. So the idea is to have that wolf as another AI, but also as a companion. and also as an ability for the player to turn into the wolf in any moment.
Oh, Game of Thrones style.
Similar to the wolf or any other thing that you want. For example, if I remember properly, I have here. I have the ability like in Metroid. For example, to basically you put a vehicle title from the current configured in the asset. In this case, I am the sphere controller, and you can turn in this sphere in any moment through the menu.
That's cool, man.
And basically, I can.
You just knocked him over.
Yes.
A poor person just standing there, minding their own business, and then a sphere just comes and runs them over.
The control tree bodies can be a little tricky, but I want to prove that movement as well. It depends on the speed of the collision.
That's just naughty. I want to see him walk off the cliff. Oh my god! Just all that blood he killed him.
Yes, it's a matter of tweak the values to limit the speed, basically. But yeah, you can basically do that. For example, one funny thing to override is an explosive barrel, which you can actually explode while control it. For example, here, let's see this one. For example, you can. I took part of this idea from the game Prey, the new game Prey that they is what Bethesda, I think.
You play a lot of games, don't you? How many games have you got on your Steam account? 1,000?
No, actually not. Most of the games I have valid time to play. I play some, but others just take ideas from basically see some videos. Okay, let's change to powers. So actually, this possession system is not only for the powers, but you can actually use the smartphone to trigger the same effect.
You're going to use a smartphone to cause an explosion. Do not try this at home. We do not condone this kind of actions. Thank you so much for the follow. How hard is it to add another character into this controller? So if I want to add, like a cool 3D guy from Maxim Bug Remove or someone else, how would I do it?
Do you mean another model?
Yeah, exactly. Because you had a video tutorial from I think version 2, maybe I think it was. Taking pictures. You're taking pictures with the phone.
Okay. Yes, it can be used for that. Okay. I added this feature where basically in third person you can see the phone in the. Basically, this smartphone is a weapon. It's managed through the weapon system, but it has just an extra behavior for the smartphone logic.
So it's got a little camera attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you displaying the camera in the UI?
Basically, is change the parent of the canvas that is displayed in the smartphone. The smartphone has a canvas that is in 3D world, and when you change view, it changes from the smartphone itself to the screen of the player.
Lovely.
So basically, it's that. Let me, if I can remember, is which button was no.
So you can actually do augmented reality inside the game.
Yes.
Inception. You're playing a game where you have a mobile phone walking around. You could do Pokemon Go inside Unity. So you're a character in Unity walking around playing Pokemon Go with his mobile phone. So you can
Actually, it's funny because I make for the master project in the for the university. I had to make another project, and I used actually GKC and a map system in game to basically take a part of the real world and show it in the game. Oh, cool. And I used that combining with the asset. No, it wasn't for a Pokemon Go type, but actually it could be used for that. It was a system to being able to get yourself in a building inside, so you can actually see the map of the building and see where you are in any moment, like the typical panels in the walls that you are here, but that in the smartphone in real time.
So are you going to cause this to explode now? What are you going to do?
To explode what?
Are you going to make that barrel blow up by using the camera, the smartphone?
Actually, it could be done with the assistant. Let's see. 1 minute. Why it's not changing to the camera? Do you hear that?
No, but I could imagine that you got your, because Discord doesn't.
Really, yes, basically, the radio system can be configured in anywhere, and it's That's in crazy. The. For some reason, yes, there is a flashlight as well. So with the current quality settings, it's not going to be visible. But anyway, not sure. I think for any reason, it's not returning to the.
We broke it. Do you ever feel like there's too many features? Because I mean, one of the statements is this asset has so many features. It just needs to not have so many things clustered inside the player. So if you go to the player object.
Yes. No, actually, not everything is in the player, but I am working in make the player prefab the cell later. I am moving some of the components that have been placed in it before. For example, what is it here? For example, for the new system that are going out in the recent updates, I have this parent. And here you can see more organized each one. And actually, everything here can be removed as you prefer. If you don't need the experience system, you can remove it. And actually, for the next update, I'm going to make different prefabs of the player with more simple versions of him.
Oh, cool.
For example, if you just want one simple controller and that's it, there will be an example of just that. Or for example, you only want weapons, or maybe you are going to make an adventure game where the player basically moves for different places, talking to people. You can have that as well. So different examples is going to be configured with simpler versions of the player. And like I said, all the new elements are being made modular, so they can be removed as you need.
So Gore is saying that you have to search for a long time to find the things that you want to change. So that, yeah, it seems to be like it's a massive asset with loads of functionality. Just sometimes doesn't seem to be easy to find all of those features. So you know it's got something, or maybe people don't even realize that it can do all of the things that it can do.
Yeah, that is why I'm working in the documentation and also in the workflow of the asset itself to make everything as easy to use as possible. For example, this is one of the new ways to make things to have everything more organized.
A good way would be some kind of wizard where you can create a basic character and add things. So like, yeah, that'd be cool. Like you've got a little wizard, say, tick box, do you want this feature? Do you want that feature? You tick the ones you want and then it builds it for you.
Mm. Yes, actually, that is what you said before about create a new character. Basically, it's here in the game controller options. You click here, create new character, and you can select player or just one AI. And basically, you select here a model and press create player. For example, you press, and you have here a new player.
And it's got the input system, because you've got a custom input system. It works for touchscreen for mobiles. Does it work for old like Xbox 360? And does it work for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and all that stuff?
I haven't a development kit for those consoles, but it's sure that there is nothing special about the asset.
Cool.
Maybe for the serialization system, I think that maybe Microsoft has some problem with binary format, but can be sure. That is one of the reasons why I changed the save system to JSON. Can be sure, but like I said, I haven't had the chance to try a build in those platforms. But the Gamepad support is already included, and for the new data, I'm going to add full menu navigation through the Gamepad. With instead of cursor, it's going to be navigation with basically the D-pad.
My kids play these mobile games where they have two characters on the same physical device. So would you be able to have two co-op on one mobile or a tablet using your kit?
Maybe that could be possible, but probably some addition maybe is needed, because for that kind of control, what you used to do is put every person in front of the other, and the phone is vertical, I think. So each person holds the phone from one of the sides, or the side, not the bottom of the top. But yes, and maybe it could be done.
I know that well, that's the thing. SR388 or Santi or Two Cubes is a huge Resident Evil fan. So is a blood gore system planned like Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 remake?
I don't think that I can barely get closer to that system. That is a madness. Especially in the second game of the remakes, because in the third one, due to the size of the city and the number of characters, they disable a lot of elements of that gore system in the zombies. You can actually see some video where the interaction from bullets and the lost limb of the zombies is managed differently in the third one than in the second one. But no, I can work in a system like that. That is a total different thing from what I can do, because that is mesh, polygon, shaders, particles, a lot of things that probably, I think that there is some asset in the story that has that kind of elements, and probably it could be it is made to be used in any. Usually, the developer, if you make a tool like that, is going to be made to work in any asset.
Yeah, exactly.
So
otherwise,
it should be work in something like this. Basically, detect the damage and apply the Gore system that has. Here, the only thing that I has is the trick to. Yes, basically it's a trick where the scale of the limbs is reduced to 0, which gives the illusion that, combined with particles and an explosion or say like that, for example, I'm going to take the audio because what this happened.
Don't worry, I can't hear the audio anyway.
I think it's because of the silent screen. This is doing weird stuff. No, sorry. It's because I made a second character. There is a second player in the game. And I should remove that. Okay. No. I forget to do that.
Someone's saying, MK Gary saying it works with the Xbox One controller on PC, but it disables the keyboard and mouse when connected. Okay. Thank you for that.
No, yes, by default it's configured like that, but there is an option here in the input. You can actually, I can actually show you that.
Oh, cool.
Here in the input manager of the player, here there are the option to ignore gamepad. So if you connect a gamepad, it will be ignored, or to allow to work with both gamepad
and gamepad. Okay, cool.
So yes, you have. This is the custom main input manager of the asset, where you can see the tutorials and the doc that you configure here all the possible options that you have for the player movement, the camera, the different control schemes, for example, weapons. For example, each vehicle has its own separated group of options, so you can customize it that you prefer.
Brilliant.
And you can do that exactly with the gamepad. You can allow to use both of any or just one of them according to what you prefer. But yeah, by default, it's made to be ignored. Yes.
So how long do you think it would take somebody to learn how to use your kit to get to understand all of the features that it got?
It depends because, like you said, if you use everything of it, you're going to make the next Deus Ex. But it depends. Most people used to have an idea in the head about make that kind of game, so they will stick with a certain group of elements. But in a sense, the asset hasn't too much in that regard because basically you have the player, the AI, and then each category for weapons, inventory, vehicles, input, and that kind of basically the usual stuff that you have in most games. So starting from there, you inside each category you have different elements. So it depends on what you want to do with that. Of course, the documentation will have more content, but in the meantime, of course, I am always in Discord and in the forum of the channel, and of course in the support email, which is in the doc, and I am always available to as well to.
You are always available, like 3 o'clock in the morning. I said, "I'm going to get a reply back." What are you still?
Yes, I have our schedule. My days are way too long than usual. Here the AI is, for example, I added the new type of AI that can use powers instead of. For example,
Harry Potter. Hey, his leg's gone.
For example, this is. Do you remember what I say about the Ragdolls receiving damage?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see that here is Johnny. No. So you can pick. The Ragdoll, which by the way was improved for the uncommon data, and they behave way much better.
Brilliant. So you can take his body and hide it, so nobody can find it and set the alarms off.
Currently, the AI it doesn't detect the dead bodies, but they are going to do. So a possible mechanic will be to hide the dead bodies.
Can you sneak up on the other guy and assassinate him?
Yes, in fact there is a stealth kill example here for the action system. We really should show the action system.
Yes, we should.
Here. For example, the dead bodies can still receive damage, and you can remove the limbs. So basically, this is the closest thing that you can get with the current elements of the asset for the Gore. But you can tweak that to make the particles better. So to make look better.
Well, it looks pretty good. To be honest, it looks pretty good, dude.
Okay, let's try this one last time. I'm not sure. I think it's the obstacle is playing with me for some reason.
It's always more difficult to come from behind, so don't worry about that. You'll fix it.
See. Okay.
Thank you, Sync Goku, for posting that link in chat for the dismembering asset. Much appreciated. And for actually chopping in all of the link bombs. And if anyone's new to the channel, and this is your first time visiting us on Discord, or on Twitch, because you didn't realise that we're there, we do have like Discord links. We got our YouTube link, so don't forget to go and click on the sub on YouTube. It's free. It's like following, but it's on YouTube, and it's a +1. And don't forget to click follow on Twitch, and then click a little bell icon. And when we go live, you'll get notified. And every day during the sales, we are interviewing beautiful people like 2Cubes, and tomorrow we're going to be interviewing DreamTech, who are doing a spline system, and they've also got an endless runner. Would you like to use a lovely spline tool in Unity, Santi?
A spline tool?
Yeah. Dream splines. It's very cheap compared to Curvy. It's like half the price of Curvy.
No, I haven't tried that system. Actually, I made a kind of spline system made a kind of dynamic movement for the buttons. But yeah, the spline system used to be very interesting.
Make the obstacle bigger. It gets stuck on the actual chair glider. Okay.
Yes, the bad thing is that the obstacle can get in the way of the current target of the player, which is to reach this. What I can actually do is probably reduce the colliders of the chair.
So MK Go, you're saying make the obstacle bigger itself rather than make the chair bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
No, what I'm going to add is a basic collider here for the chair itself, so it doesn't get in the way, but it still have. Probably we should leave that for now. But for the people, you can be.
I love the fact that you're refusing to let it go. You're like, I want this to work. I'm not letting it beat me. I'm not letting you beat me.
Nah, like I said, I have been working on this today, so it needs more testing. But you can get an idea of the improving system to actually move toward a position when the action system is used to make things more realistic, or the interaction to feel more
immersed. Yeah,
alive.
Exactly.
Instead of a boom of a match movement.
Yay!
It's basically a thing of play with it and tweak it, and you have.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep on playing with it until you're happy. That's the trick.
For example,
so what does this do now? Why have you got a green? Is that your energy because you're running?
This one, this is the stamina system. Basically, when you run off of it, it will make the player to stop to run and avoid to run again. This is a sprint, better say, until it starts to refill. It has many options, and you can customize it here. Like the other system is inside this panel, so you can see better everything. And of course, this is the currency here, the stamina. You can remove it as well. You don't need to use it. It's just an example. And for example, you can see here that the elements that use it, which is in this case a sprint, clean blades, for the inventory weight limit, it will make the player to walk instead of running. For example, for a feature that is wall run. But so this is for first person because I haven't done animation for that part yet. But
so we're gonna have a parkour system.
Yeah, actually part of that is already possible. For example, with the bolt action, this is light. This is automatic. I am not triggering this by input. It's basically. Brilliant. Of course, this has also setting, for example, to. Basically, this is a trigger, but it has setting to avoid that if the player goes like that from the side, it's not going to be activated. There is basically this is the action system, and if it's configured to check the direction of the player with respect to the object. So it takes into account that the player is going more or less straight toward the object.
I can't keep up with all the features this has.
No, actually, this keeps being the same system as the chair. I mean, the chair and this is the same.
Really?
Basically, it's the action system. For example, I have here the bolt. Yeah, and
I like
it's the same.
The good sound effects.
No, actually, I should record more effects like that.
You should add them in. That gives him the charm.
For example, one funny thing about also this AI can hear, so it detected my footsteps.
Oh, Santa, you need your NPCs to save us because we're being raided. We've been raided by the Biscuit Brigade. Oh, thank you so much for the raid. Can I get a shout out, please? Can I get a shout out? So, what have you been up to, Big Wheatley? What have you been? Have you been making coding, playing games? Freshie, do that magical command thing where you can see what people get up to. Because I've got no idea how that works. I'm not a real streamer yet. We haven't learned all that stuff. And all the raiders who are coming in, if you ever want to make a game that has every possible feature you could ever imagine, then you need to do an exclamation mark GKC in chat, please, and see the GameKit controller from 2Cubes. We are trying to debug an issue with our 8-star pathfinding. What about you, fellow live coder? I am joined by 2Cube Santi, who's got the sexiest accent in the world. I'm glad that my wife has gone to bed and she's no longer watching the stream because I would get concerned having Antonio Banderas with me live on stream.
Exactly.
Do you want to show our raiders your action system once more? And tell you what, drink a beer and then use the vault, and I want to see what happens.
The one animation
will override the other.
Yes, in this case, yes. Unless you make maybe another tree for the whole drunk state. So maybe you have a drunk vault. If that exists, that there is a game where you actually can get drunk.
Well, with the camera effect, say though. So if you drink it, so now we've got here we go. Look, now vault.
Yeah.
Wee.
Basically, also the camera is reversible. That is why it is more difficult.
Go under the thingamajig. Go under the other one.
No.
Come on. Wait. He's going to puke up. Oh, drink another beer. You've got better now. Quickly drink.
I haven't heard anything, any better idea in my life about the beer. I mean. Okay, so we made the.
I want to see him fall down the cliff as well. As go under that one. Go under that one while you're drunk. So it automatically, and the thing that just blew my mind is when you said it detects the direction of the player as he goes up to the object to know that if he's direction is to the side of it, then it's not going to it's not going to trigger.
Yeah, exactly. You need to, for example, you can see here. Let's check this. Here.
Oh, there's the other.
You can see here the trigger basically is the same system as the chair, and in this case it's just one single element instead of more of them. Basically here you have the option to use min distance or min angle. In this case is 20. If the direction of the player is higher than that, with respect the forward direction, is not going to be activated.
That's brilliant, man.
And you have here different options, for example, for the player of the input to pauses his movement input. For the camera as well, you can block it to avoid rotation or make the player to look toward a certain direction while the action is made. For example, to avoid to use the interaction buttons.
Yeah.
Other stuff related to physics like disable gravity, is collided, disable the inverse kinematics for hands and feet.
What happens if you change it to 90 degrees? And Goku's asking. So
90 degrees?
Yeah.
The bolt? It will the same. I can do it. Do you mean something like? Oops.
No. The detection that you had, it said is on 20. So if you change it to trigger when he's at 90 degree angle.
90 degrees.
Yeah, angle. How did you pronounce angle? So read that word. Read that sentence.
Min angle to activate that.
Oh man, I love it when you say angle. Wow,
angle?
Angle, yeah, angle. Like ankle. Ankle and angle. But the way you say it is so much better. Any balancing, what was the cliff feature previously mentioned? Merciless enemy. I feel like you guys felt at the beginning when I was dragging out the showcasing the action system, because it's been 2.5 hours, right? Santi's come on, and I'm begging to see the cliff feature, right? And I still haven't seen it yet.
I am not avoiding it. I'm going towards.
You're building up the anticipation. You're building it up.
Okay, so we are here. Right. Basically, in this case, the position to the meaning position is configured close, so the match is not too much big. So, for example, he rotates it. Also, here a cool thing is that the camera changed to a fixed position. Yep. You can, for example, rotate it a little. But this system for the camera is the locked camera system. It's the same used for top-down fixed camera.
Yeah, so it can be. You had the other demo where you were going from one room to another room, and it was changing the camera.
Yes, so it can be combined with the action system, which basically is it's events, the power of events, and it can activate anything. For example, other setting of the action system that we have seen before. You have the physics. For example, the option to, before activating the action, to walk toward a position. For example, this is in the chair. The player facing toward a direction. For example, before sitting in the chair or pressing a button, he will rotate toward that direction. Then you have the match animation settings to. Who knows the animator system on Unity will know the pain in the ass that this is sometimes to play with the values to match the animation, but it's okay. Then you have other option like the use the interaction button to change to the next animation. This, for example, is uses in the chair, and you have others like, for example, to pick an object, to parent the object in the hand of the player, for example. We can see an example of that later. Set a new camera state, the weapons to holster them before play the animation. and some condition. So the condition is simple, but it will be improved. And for example, something interesting here is the event settings, which allows to set a timer for each event to be activated. So for example, let's see, this is the bolt, for example, and basically it allows to trigger a list of events following a timer, a set of delays. So you can, for example, wait a second and set turn on a light, wait 2 seconds more and open a door, for example, for putting 2 examples.
Man, there's so much in this. It's crazy. And MK Go just pointing out that you love the feature with the IK when you touch two walls. Now, there's 2 things about. I want to force you to do something in a second.
Mm-hmm. Let's exit from the cliff before.
Yeah. Right.
So he exit.
Go to the edge.
For example, you can see here another feature that was added, a cooling system.
Yeah, that was from that guy who posted on Twitter, and you were like, "I love this," and in 3 seconds you had integrated it into the system, so that when you're going behind an object, it makes that object see through and.
Yes, that is the the transparent system for surface.
Mm-hmm. Go right to the edge of this. Go right to the edge. Come on, go right to the edge. Go right to the edge. You're gonna fall over.
To walk in the cliff?
Yeah, exactly. Walk off the edge.
Here you can always tweak the match to be played better.
Doug Dungeons, it's 2 a.m. here. I know it's 12:30 here. How did you get 2 a.m.? Are you like in a time zone where you're an extra half an hour offset? Run really fast into that wall. Smash your face into the wall. Like you put your arms up.
Yes, that is the. For example, one element interesting is, for example, the player. You can see the player here carrying the weapon, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you press the roll action. For example, this is the action system, but for activated by trigger, by input. So it can be activated in any moment instead of fixed places. For example, whoops.
Yay, rolled.
And basically, you can see that the player stopped to carry the weapon in 2 hands.
Yeah.
And for example, yep.
That's cool. Oh,
basically,
nice.
It's a roll action.
We need to go back to your. We need to go back to your object that you changed the angle to be 90 degrees. Otherwise, Sengoku's going to stab us because he wanted to see what happened there. That is a big round up. Rounding up to 2 a.m. That is big. So it was the other one. It was the one that you were going under, I think.
See?
Oh, no, it was that one, wasn't it?
You can see that I am basically entering in 90 degrees and it's activated.
Yeah. So that's why you.
So
it looks weird.
It's normal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, basically this is a match animation, but it uses the current position of the player instead of a fixed place like that. So if he activates the animation in that angle.
Right. Don't change how you say it. It was lovely.
That is because that is why the angle option was added. I think I saying differently in each time, but it's okay.
That's cool.
So, like I said, here you can see that 90 degrees won't happen.
You had that when you run against a wall and the IK kicks in. In the earlier versions, it was very aggressive, so that your arm, if your shoulder was against the wall, the player started looking really weird. Now it looks a lot nicer. Whoa! How did that happen? How did you just fly?
Yeah, that is
double.
No,
jump.
it's
a power.
Yes, you can configure as much as possible, as much as you need, or disable directly. But I used to use a lot. during tests and so on.
Right, I want you to do a stealth kill.
Okay. Actually, let's.
Oh,
I damage.
He's shooting you.
This area. This is the enemy. I for some reason thought that it was the
He hates you,
the
man.
friend.
Are you
For
going to
example,
kill your
let's see.
friend?
No.
Okay, good. Because that'd be mean.
Okay, what you are seeing now is the ability system. It's the wheel to configure the current ability system. You can open it at any moment according to how you want to use it. And this is the other system that I mentioned. For example, you can throw a stone. Before of that, you can aim toward a position that you want to throw it. And for example,
throw his head.
You can actually hit it. But before that, let me show you that the noise will call the attention of the AI. Bloop.
Oh, so what's over there?
And he returns to the this was added recently to return to his position and rotating toward the previous direction. For example, he's guarding a gate. He will return to that position.
That's awesome, man.
And for example,
can you smack him on the head with the rock and knock him out?
Yes. I think that it will kill it. Not sure. Yes, it will kill it.
Where's his head? Where's his head?
Basically, is the it checks the velocity of the impact, and according to some extra multiplier for the damage, it will apply certain damage. In this case,
his body's still twitching, mate. It's disgusting. Look, his dead face body's still spasming.
Yes, basically, sometimes the Ragdolls for Unity had this strange behavior. It's basically a matter of configure of.
Well, it's the nervous system of the person's body is still kicking in, mate. I love that.
Don't worry, we can
zoom in to his head.
We can. Let's go to an hospital. No, don't worry, I can handle this.
Pause it a second and just zoom in, really, like in the. You can see where his head, like you were saying, the trick is to shrink.
Yes, basically.
And you can see it's like the Beetlejuice, where they shrink in their heads.
Yes.
It reminds you of him, and yeah, exactly. This is why I want to see him. I want you to see you do a stealth kill. Stealth kill, Santi. Stealth kill.
Yes, I'm going to. I have disabled that one. Let me stop this scene and activated that example. Okay, it's here.
It's hiding, isn't it? It's turned invisible. That's another power. Invisibility. Invisible.
Actually, there is a class system inside this ability. The ability system basically is a list of similar to the action system in the meaning of a general system, which allows to make little scripts for the thing that you need. And in this case, for example, another example is the cloak system, which allows to turn invisible from the enemies.
We got Freshman saying, I probably missed it, but is there a drag option or is it only carry? So can you drag things as well?
Yes, you can. Actually, let me.
We also haven't shown the grappling hook.
Yes, it's part of the ability system. Okay, let's see first this one.
Yeah, kill him, man. Kill him. Do it. Silent kill.
This is we can play that again. Basically, the match of the animation happens because the steel keys animation that I found in Mixamo is not the best example ever. But you can, as always, you can put your own steel keys, which basically allows to combine one animation on the player and basically activate the animation in the player and another in the other character.
Right, so pick him up by the leg and drag him.
Yes, this is what I wanted to say. You can grab it for any limb, but in this case, it needs to be done like this.
Yeah, grab a sec. Oh, okay.
You can actually rotate it, but basically you can take it from any.
But can you do it so it doesn't? So you're not using Darth Vader's force power, but actually have like you are lifting that leg and dragging it, so there's weight.
So do you mean to actually put the hands of the player in
to
the
drag like drag him across the floor?
Yes, it could be done actually, because for example, this basically is the system to carry objects configured in the hips of the player. So you can actually put that in each limb and configure a different hand positions for each place. So you can actually do that. You could customize each position for each limb. For example, if you are in first person as Deus Ex, you can pick it like in the game and throw it as you need.
Oh man.
So yeah, you can also regarding to this, you have the gravity gun, which if you haven't played Half-Life 2, you maybe don't know how exactly works.
No. Is this question? This isn't the version of the store, because has this got extra features that are not yet released?
Yes, this is part of the middle of data that I am doing currently to make some improvements, fixes, some polish, and add some new option here and there. Basically, it's focusing in make some improvements, fixes that weren't found during the last update and similar stuff. But it's also focused in the workflow. For example, the previous video that you saw before about the creation of the weapon and the ammo, that is part of the improvement for the workflow. So to make things easier.
And just chat pointing out that the animations aren't. Oh, that is funky. The animations aren't in the actual asset that's on the store, but if you go to the GitHub link, then you can download the animations. But they're the animations that are taken from Mixamo, so you could just go to Mixamo and download them directly as well, couldn't you?
Currently, it's only the examples configured for the action system are the animations that are not included. The rest, everything is included, except the example for the action system, because I basically didn't have time to arrange the necessary talks with the person who makes animation for me from time to time. So I decided to directly pick some animations of Mixamo, which are totally free and can be picked in the web. But basically, there is a link in the documentation.
Yep, we've pasted it
to
into
get
chat, so they can
a package for.
Exactly. So if anyone wants to click the link, Sengoku's just put it into Twitch. Thank you very much, Sengoku.
It's in the doc. I mean, you can check it as you prefer. But the animation are totally free. They are not mine and from Mixamo, and you can pick it in the web as well. Basically, the package, Mixamo and usually other animations used to need some tweak in the settings of Unity for elements like, for example, if the rotation and position and velocity and use it in a way or another. For example, if I go here, you can see, I guess you know that the settings.
Yeah, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, but basically, sometimes you have to check here, there. So that package is animation from Mixamo that you can pick there, totally free, with the settings necessary.
That's brilliant.
And the idea is in subdates, I will have my own animations for these actions more. And I was showing you
recommend the UMotion asset that's on the asset store. If anyone wants to make animations
Oh, yes.
easily, and there's a free version, so you can download it for free and learn how to use it. And if you want to export, there's a pro version. And if somebody wants to give an exclamation mark U motion in chat, I think I've got a link for it. If not, I'm sure someone who's a subscriber will be able to put it in. Now, there's another point to it, guys. It would be cool if you could have a character that you shoot apart and it keeps on growing until it explodes. That's pretty specific. That is a pretty specific request.
I always want to say that. that is maybe part of our system, for example. Like to make that look good, you really need to know what you're doing with a model. You really need to make a system that works with others, deformation of the mesh, and all kind of stuff that is very, very, very complicated. But I am sure that Unity can manage that, but is pretty hard stuff.
And people in chat pointing out earlier that it was nearly 2:00. 20 minutes ago. It's actually closer to 2 o'clock now. It's 12:40 my time, and it's what was that 1:40 your time, Santi? So yeah, nearly 2 o'clock.
Yes, so I already said to you I have a schedule, and this is like the middle of the day for me.
This is your lunchtime. It's time for you to have your lunchtime snack. What's this? What's this red button? What is that going to do?
Nothing. Just basically it's another example of the action system. For example, in this one, this is interesting because it has the two options: the distance. For example, if you don't get close enough, you cannot interact. And if you actually this is okay. This is not configured with the angle.
Yeah.
Because I added the option to rotate the player toward the direction. So, for example, if you are facing the totally opposite direction, the player will rotate.
Oh, cool! That's brilliant. I love that.
But you can customize it. Also, the option to use a limit angle. So the player, the interaction won't appear until you have that angle between you and the object. And like always, is the action system. It's the same for everything. Well, and for example, this trigger the spawn of these explosive barrels.
What about moving platforms? Can we have moving? Does it support moving platforms for the?
Yes. There are some prefabs of that. For example, I can drop one here. I was reading prefab.
Oh, there it is.
There's a few, but
it's almost like we rehearsed this.
I can't remember if this one moves toward different positions. Okay, this currently only moves from there to there. I think
it's a sky lift.
So, for example, you can drop it that position here, and I think this one moves always or only when the player. No, I think it moves all the time.
Oh, let's have a go. Let's have a look.
Yes, there are multiple examples. For example, you can customize it that the platform only will move when the player is on it. Other can be used that as an elevator. So you have a button and you press the floor where you move. Actually, there is an elevator system focused for that, but you can activate the movement of platforms like that as well.
Oh, cool! Let's play. Too high.
Actually, I think that this.
Oh, you can jump. I forgot you can superfly.
But I think that this is not active. Let's see.
Activate Magico.
Check. I think that it should be checked before. because in other case it should be activated through events or a function call. Let's see that.
Dun. Is it going to work or is it going to explode?
For example, you can put as many waypoints as you prefer, and you can make that the platform moves in cycles. So it moves from one position to another, and for some reason.
Oh, there it goes.
I think it has a delay. Yes, this one. I forget it. There is a wait delay between moving to the next position. For example, if I take this, two. Basically, it was a wait time between one position and another. For example, this is a second of a delay, and he will the platform will wait that time between positions.
So Sengoku is pointing out the Spanish pronunciation of platform in the spelling is platoform. If you look at mirror platoform options, he's found a typo for you in your inspector.
It is. Yes, it's possible.
So
I will.
He wants a biscuit for that one. Well done, Sengoku. You found, and it was actually an intentional Easter egg that 2Cubes has put that spelling mistake in there on purpose to see if anyone would actually notice, and you won the prize. Well done.
It's like Willy Wonka. Now
exactly,
you
the
have
golden ticket.
A visit to my fabric of chocolate.
So now you can go and visit the 2Cubes factory to see how all of this magic is done. Well, mate, do you want to? I know it's running on, but do you want to? If there's one last piece of magic that you want to show before I show you something that was made with your own kit as well.
Well, let's see. You want to see the grappling hook?
Yeah, come on. Let's grapple. Let's grapple something.
So I should put some platform in the air.
Oh yeah. So
basically, you have the ability system. For example, you have the stealth mode that basically turns you invisible for the.
Oh, look at that! You've got invisible.
This is detecting the noise.
But they can hear you.
Yes,
and it's like, who's there? And they can see. They can see your footsteps.
If I turn, but I manage. For example, this is another
now
interesting.
You're wounded. And now you're wounded.
And I try to go away, but he keeps checking the noise.
Can you go slowly and then it doesn't generate noise? If you
yes, if I before he detected me, for example, when you crouch, in the foot step you can configure different foot states, and one of them is when you crouch, so the volume of the foot steps can be lowered, and the range of that sound maybe won't reach the enemy.
There's so many features in this pack, it's insane. Give me an exclamation mark GKC in chat, please. Give me an exclamation mark GKC to have a look at this beautiful pack. Thank you so much, Fresh Meat. Quick on the draw, as always.
Well, I am not. If you want, I won't show any more of this. Basically, for example, this is a push object ability. That, for example, I put Reggie bodies here to show it. Basically, this is the ability system combining with the action system to trigger to use an animation along with the action with ability.
Cool. Do it.
For example. Really?
Oh, there you go.
For example, this will be more maybe spellcasting, or if you want to use it like that. For example, I have here fire, and this actually causes damage to stuff. For example, this card. Let's see. electricity, for example. I
like the
think
Emperor.
that one killed the enemy. For example, want to go to sleep. Oops.
Well, he's definitely gonna sleep now.
The Ragdolls always have some surprise.
Oh, so you're using the electric and the sleep at the same time?
No, I think no. It should. I think maybe it's a
Why has he
collider,
done it? He's just bled to death.
and he disappears from from another. I think there is probably a collider attached to the trigger of the spell. So maybe that is the cause. I will check that. For some reason, I'm not sure why, but don't worry, that will fix it.
That's what we're here to find bugs. Don't worry, that's what we're here for. Are you making it rain?
For example, yes, this heals the object that enters inside the trigger. For example.
Oh, drive the car quickly, just to show everyone that you do actually have. Even though you don't have animal mounts, you've got
basically
a motorbike as well.
When animals are added, basically it will use the vehicle system, but instead of physics like in vehicles, it will use the animation to move, combining with the elements needed. For example, here is a kind of full body awareness.
This is awesome. Don't know, poor plug.
He destroyed the car.
Stick the motorbike on to show people the motorbike. I love the motorbike.
The collision, the minimum collision to apply damage to the AI should be changed in the vehicle. But anyway, the motorbike. Basically, this is like the action system, in the meaning that the vehicle system is general. It means that all vehicles in the asset are made with the same components.
Oh wow!
Which to manage the seats in the position and the inverse kinematics, the damage detection, the control itself, weapons, camera, all the same. The only difference, for example, you can see that there is a motorbike controller or a car controller. Basically, that is the only difference.
What about aeroplanes?
What?
Aeroplanes.
Can you repeat?
Aeroplane controller, plane controller, or a helicopter controller.
Yes, there is an aircraft. So it can be proved. It will be proved. For example, there is a flying, which is.
Yeah, put that in. Come on. Click play. Ooh.
For example, other interesting element that was added for the current update in the store is the option to configure settings in game and save and load them. For example, the typical mouse sensitivity, game volume, or in the, I think, for example, this is just an example, the sensitivity for the touch control. Or for example, you can see here as well the reverse camera direction or player movement. All the typical settings that can be configured in game for a game can be saved and loaded. And I actually increase it a lot, the sensitivity of the mouse. Let's reduce that. Okay.
God, 2 hours in and they're actually showing the asset. Yes, 2 hours in and now we're showing it.
And let's see how. Yes, here. Basically, this is like a. I think I took the idea of this controller, of this vehicle from the last Rage game, where there was a similar vehicle.
The problem, everyone, with GameKit controller is that a 6-hour stream is not long enough to show all of the features. So everyone complaining can go sit there, stick their heads inside the oven and turn it on. Okay? That's what I'm going to say. Don't forget to click subscribe first before you do that. Okay? So click subscribe, stick your $5 in Twitch, send it this way, then go down into the kitchen, open up the oven, stick it in, put gas mark 5, and then wait for the next stream to come on. No, don't do that. Obviously, don't do that. That's a terms of service. Everyone knows. Terms of service! Terms of service! Banned! Banned for 6 weeks now on Twitch. Thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow. Treebeard. We were talking about Ents the other day when Malbers was on, if he was going to make Ents. But my head's already in the oven. Everyone's now clicking follow before they go and stick their heads in the oven. Thank you, everyone, for clicking follow before you go stick your heads in the oven. Don't forget to do that. There's so many things that I want to do with your GameKit controller that I don't think there's enough hours left in the day to make all the games that I want to make with it.
Yes, one thing that I think that the asset allows is to get inspiration or ideas from its mechanic to do anything you want. And
so many different genres as well. You're not just restricted to be doing like a shooting fighting game. There's the functionality is there that really your imagination is the only limit on the type of game that you want to do. You could do a racing car game, for God's sake, with this because of the vehicle mechanics in here. You can make a platformer if you wanted. You can make a puzzle game. You can do a top down. You can do a side, like a what do the kids call it? 2.5D game. So there's hardly any limit to what you can make with this kit. What I would say is, what I would ask rather is if you started working on the project now, and the version 3.03 hits, how bad would that affect someone's existing project when they want to download the new version and update? Would it be a drastic change, or would their project still work? They just have a load of new features available to them.
Well, it depends. Usually, for example, basically almost all the 3.02 versions have been only needed to basically overwrite the previous version, and you are fine you are good to go. For example, for the next update, probably the player itself is probably the only object that you will need to configure again, basically with the create new character. And also, for example, I'm working in Elements that allows to save the settings and different customization that you have made in a player to move it to the next to other versions of the asset. And for that, I am using scriptable objects. For example,
lovely. Yeah, beautiful.
For example, for the player. That is why I always put him here at the top.
Always put him at the top is easy to find.
Yes, I always do. Let's see. For example, in the this is the main inventory manager, where you basically configure every type of inventory object that you are going to use in your project. For example, you can organize it by categories, so you can have a better management of them. What you can do is move this list to an scriptable object, so you can save that info from this inventory to the next player. And the idea is to make the same for the rest of options of the player itself. That will allow to basically move very quick from one version to another, saving the settings of your player.
Every time you go to a new window, I'm like, this is amazing. This is another cool feature. I'm a little bit worried about what happens when you move to using JSON if I had already started now and you moved to JSON for saving, do I then have to change how I interact with that, or is it still I just use this? I interact with the same method, the same component, and how the component works in the background. It was fine.
It will be fine. The system itself is transparent user, so he can work in the elements without worrying for that.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Can you show the gravity? Making quite a good point. MK Garrett, very vocal, very good point, saying it's quite unique to the assets. So you had a demo in the other scene where you just clicked, you went into a room and everyone was just floating around, and it was.
Yes, I took the idea from. In fact, that was the main mechanic that I made for the degree project, and that is where the asset start.
Really, it all started from the gravity.
Yes, I took the idea from the game called Gravity Rush from PS Vita. That is the main reason this asset exists, because it is what the main game that gave me the idea for the project.
Oh, cool.
From the project for the asset. For example, this is a demo I made for different purposes, but one of them is the gravity system itself. Take it also inspiration from Dead Space.
Just click play, wait 20 minutes for Unity to wake up, and when we go, let's do it. So
basically, you cross that gate, everything goes zero gravity, and there is like a whole bridge.
It's sucked out.
And basically, there is actually you have here a tutorial that you can. There is a tutorial system that you can put different panels to show the player certain elements of your game. For example, here it explains the zero gravity controls. And for example, you here, you can actually hear, I think, the audio.
Oh no!
But anyway, this also
exactly. Discord's not letting me hear the audio, but that is, we're now sucked out into space.
See, yes, basically you are in zero gravity and you are here. You can rotate toward any direction, and you actually, and I actually dying because I have no oxygen. I'm going to pick that is floating around.
Quickly pick up that.
You can see here in the
floating.
you see the back of the player. You can see a counter there. And basically the idea of this demo is pick the weapon. You shouldn't have any because I am working in the data you have here weapon. And the idea, let me pick. I think I am going to die.
Yeah, don't die. Oh, you're dead. You're dead.
And I think, let's see, 1 second. And the player, in case that is in zero gravity, it flows around.
Oh, that is awesome. Look at him.
Whee!
Oh, that is brilliant. I love that.
So the idea is basically fire at those. It's combining with the mission system. The mission system basically says that you have to shoot at the cubes in order to open that door and enter inside the ship again. I can play it.
That's crazy. B Wheatley, are you still in chat? Did you see the dead space that we had going on? All right, try not to get yourself killed this time.
Yes, I will try. Okay, so
try to stay alive.
Basically, the system say you that survive. You can see the mission here and the info, and you have to go there. Basically, this is the mission system, and you can see that there is no characters or board system that tell you what to do. Basically, it's activated through events and trigger. So basically, it says as pick the weapons.
Get the oxygen before you die, man.
Now I have a weapon, and let's pick some ammo.
The ammo and the weapon is going to be useless to you when you run out of oxygen, mate. I hate to be the one to break this to you.
Yes, I'm going to pick some.
To be honest, I mean, I would have gone for the oxygen first before going for the weapon, but each to their own, I suppose. When you're shooting the gun, because you're in zero gravity, you should be thrust backwards. Can you do that?
Yes, you can. Well, you can apply force to the player by firing weapons. So yeah, you could do that, but it should need an addition to distinguish between if you are in zero gravity or not. Probably.
Yeah,
and you have here pickups to refill
if you're in zero gravity, it will send you flying backwards. If you're not, it will just have the recoil on the gun.
For example, you have panels to show information for the player. And for example, this is this other part is to change the gravity. Basically, this is like a kind of puzzle. Oh, if you want to call it like that. Basically, you have to reach the top. This is very, very inspiring in a kind of data space. To help to know where to go, I put these objectives on the screen.
Oh man, I mean, it's freaky.
And when you reach the top, you can see where you actually reach. Basically, the door is there, and you reach here by changing the gravity.
I mean, I can't work out if you're the right way up or not.
Yep.
Hey.
I took this other idea from Control, where basically the player was able to fly around, and you can actually use weapon here as well.
I said it at the start, and I say it again. Sometimes it just feels like you just get lost in the amount of features that you get. You've got so many features available to you that you can make so many different types of games. So when you're working, don't look at the feature set as a guide of what type of game you want to make. I would say come up with the idea for the game that you want to make first, and then see how it would work with a kit like this, or writing your own stuff. So, and also don't forget that when you buy something like GameKit controller or anything else out there, it doesn't mean that you're restricted to just use the functionality of this kit. The joy of using Unity and C# and everything is that you can actually extend upon it, write your own scripts, your own code, and get it integrated working with this larger engine that is the game. And I would call it a game engine within an engine, GameKit controller. But yeah, it's a mouthful of a name to use. You need to come up with a nickname for it, or Jicky. I think we're going to call it Jicky.
I always think about the letters of the game of the asset as jacuzzi.
Jacuzzi.
For some reason, because the pronunciation is similar.
Oh yeah, so we're going to call it jacuzzi from now on.
Yeah. I thought about put a bathtub as an icon of the asset, but I removed that idea immediately.
Yeah, it would be a bit surreal. People might get a bit confused about it.
For example, like you said, in this level there are different elements. So I always try to have everything organized here in the hierarchy, so you can see better where is everything, how it's configured, and so on. Like I said, most of the system are events and other options, so it's very customizable, and you can customize it and you prefer.
Mate, it's lovely. I mean, I know, as we said before, it's again, every time you show me something, we get it for another half an hour talking about features. If there's anything anyone wants to see before we go to bed, do let me know. But I wanted to show you the small little game that Sengoku made using your kit. If I put it on, and then you can see how it like how it's made and go, oh, he did this, that, or the other using my kit. You can work out how he actually made it. I think that would be cool. You want to show the abilities before we go to bed?
Yeah, actually, give me 10 seconds to show you.
You take all the seconds you need.
And nothing more, the grappling hook. Just that. Because it's just a curiosity, not more than anything else.
I love the grappling hook.
There is always room to improve, but anyway, you can select it here and basically this is from, for example, I took the idea from Sekiro or maybe Batman Arkham games, where you basically you can see the closest dot.
Ah!
For example, it is attached to a certain object. So, for example, this is rotating. So is my the tip of the grappling hook. And for example, I am not sure if it's going to. Well, this grappling hook it can be attached to a weapon and be used as an attachment of that weapon.
Oh, cool.
For example. So for example, when you are close to this, when the dot is close to your view, it will automatically launch the grappling hook to that position. Else it's going to be attached to any object. For example, something fun. No.
Oh,
Not me. Ignoring me. Okay.
What?
Sometimes.
Did you grappling hook? Is it?
Yes, it can be used in an image. No, so I'm not sure what is happening with the Ragdolls. For some reason, I'm going crazy. I will check that. But
Freshman's back. Freshman, look at this grappling hook.
Let's see if I can show you this better.
Come on.
Let's
see. That's it.
And let me grab a weapon. Whee! Boom.
Oh, that poor bloke.
Basically, you can pull the enemies towards you, enemies or objects, and they slow down when you are close enough. And this is separated components that are made as samples for new behaviors of the ability system. There's nothing hard-coded or similar. For example, the car is always slowed down and then poof, is back to there. For example, with cubes, they slow and.
Can you disable that action where it slows down and then just leave it?
Yes, you can just make that, but you are going to eat the object that is. You have to stop the traction, or you are going to eat the object.
Yeah, you did like disable. Go.
Let me check you.
Okay. Turn off. Quickly, unhook it before it smacks you in the face. Quickly unhook it. Unhook it before you get killed, man. Can you unhook something that's going towards you halfway through? Oh yeah, cool.
In fact, with a.
Oh my word!
And the collision from the impact can kill them.
Yeah, my word.
Yeah. Not sure what is funnier. Stop the hook or let them go close enough to you.
I like that when you're swinging, it causes the momentum for you to flip, like Spider-Man.
Yes, for now it's more an attraction than a swing, but I want to add a swing action as well. And you can also the movement, the position is not restricted. You can actually move toward the sides while being attracted. You can also stop it at any moment or increase the movement speed. And also when you reach the ground again, the camera is back to its position. That is configurable. The fetch, the camera position, and everything.
When you have the next update in a couple of months, will you come back so we can play about with it?
Yes, no problem. I am glad to be here.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
It's always fun to take a look at the asset and see what other people think about it.
And help break it as well.
Yes, that's is a help more than anything, because it actually allows to improve anything that maybe is not noticed before.
So mate, thank you so much for popping in. Always a pleasure. Get some sleep. Try to go to bed and get some sleep. Don't stay up too late answering people's questions.
Yes, thanks. I will try.
See you. Bye bye.
Bye.
What a lovely man. What a lovely bloke. If you want to see more of my crazy videos, click on the left side of your screen now, and down below there's that big juicy subscribe button, and right next to it is the magic bell that if you click it, it will tell you if I've got a new video coming out. Till next time.